Right, guys, so this one, deadlifts. Stu McGill, in an interview with Peter Attia, said that those people who deadlift heavy are the people that end up in his clinic getting hip replacements. This was a while ago. This was a few months ago, and I sent a blog and a newsletter out about it, and I'm only now really getting around to the video about it because I do these in sequence, which is why if you want this stuff straight away, you should be on the newsletter. And yeah, anyway, deadlifts. Are they dangerous? Are you going to get a hip replacement if you deadlift? I don't like these broad strokes, or rather these sort of if this then that thought processes. I think they're too limited. They're too closed. If there's one thing I've learned in my 47 years on this planet and all the time I've spent learning and teaching martial arts, being a fitness instructor, strength and conditioning coach, movement therapist, all the things I've done across the variety of sports, martial arts, running, mountain biking, cycling, snowboarding, kettlebell sport, I've played racket sports, I've surfed, I've done climbing, do you know what I mean? These wide variety of people. I've been around in a wide variety of settings. There is no guarantee of anything. Yes, we can stereotype. We can paint a broad stroke. People used to come into me in Dublin and, right, what have you tried before? What do you do? What sports did you play? And they say, oh, I played GAA. And you could just list off, oh, your hamstrings are tight. You've got a sore back. Oh, I do jiu-jitsu. Ah, right, your knees are short. Your feet are weak. Your and you can reel off stereotypical. And they become stereotypes because they're common. Stereotypes aren't bad. If you imagine the world as a bell curve, most people exist in this middle of the bell curve, and that is the stereotype. Yes, it doesn't fit everybody, but it fits most people most of the time. Why we have stereotypes is because we can't think about every individual as an individual until we're dealing with that individual in front of us. But if we're talking about deadlift as a generic exercise, and we take 1,000 people and we get them all to deadlift, you're going to get 1,000 variants on the same sort of result. And that result is these people are going to get stronger. Where does the deadlift become a problem? And it's not just the deadlift, it's every lift. Starts to become a problem when you start to reach the extreme. And to reach the extreme means you have to specialize. And specialization is the problem. Not what you're specializing in, but the fact that you're specializing. This is where I see the problem. Now, this is timely because the Olympics are on right now, and we're watching the most specialized people who exist on the furthest outside edge of that bell curve of humanity. These people are not normal. Every single athlete that's out there on the start line, especially those people that reach the podium, those people who hit the final, they are genetic outliers. These people exist on the fringe of society. They're the 1% of the 1% of the 1%. Actually, there's probably a genuine statistic on that. I just made that 1% up. Now, I remember as a kid watching Carl Lewis, and he'd come off one of his events and he'd immediately sit down and just basically cover himself in bags of ice because he was shot. He was in so much pain when he wasn't doing the thing he was specialized in. But I mean, Carl Lewis is one of the greatest athletes that ever was. We've got all sorts of freaks of nature at the moment. Simone Biles is just, wow, a mutant. Usain Bolt is retired, a mutant. Phelps is retired, a mutant. I don't know who's replacing them at the minute. I don't know if there is a replacement at the minute. Actually, not watching the 100 meter the other day, and the margin by which the first and last person crossed that line, it was like a tenth of a. Can't even remember. It was so tight. There's no dominant force in the sprinting right now, but the likes of Biles, Bolt, Phelps, even come out of the Olympics. We're into Eddie Hall, Brian Shaw, and the strongman, Lance Armstrong back in the cycling days. These guys are genetic anomalies. They are the freaks. They are living so far on the outside edge of that bell curve. And really, most of the people who I'm talking to right now, myself included, we're not out there. We're in the height of the bell. We might not be in the middle. We may not be average. We have things that move us to one side of the average or the other. We are not going to massively benefit from specialization. Now, in the weight room, I don't think we should specialize unless you're a competitive lifter. If you are a power lifter, then yes, you need to specialize in the big 3 barbell lifts. If you're an Olympic lifter, then yes, you need to specialize in the squat, the clean, the jerk, and the snatch. If you're a kettlebell sport lifter, same thing. You've got the jerk, the clean, and the snatch to specialize in. That's about it. Outside of competitive lifting, we use lifting to make us competitive. Yeah. So in the gym, if you specialize and that specialization starts breaking your body down, if it takes away from other movements that you probably should be doing, if it starts draining your tank so that you don't have the energy to put into your other activities, then we have a problem. McGill, when I listened to the podcast, I don't think he said why these people end up getting hip replacements. Why do people get hip replacements? Quite often it's the hip socket itself starts breaking down for some reason. Why? Is it impacted? Is it just utterly compressed? Is there improper movement? Is there tension around it that's pulling the femur somewhere so it's not rotating in the center of the socket like we would ideally like it to? And again, broad strokes here. What is it? And the truth is, we don't really know. You could have, like I said, a dozen people come in for a hip replacement, and each one will have a different story. Sure, Paulie, he has 2 hips replaced. Paulie that I run Wild Geese with. Nothing to do with deadlifting. More to do with kicking. And a lot of martial arts guys end up with hip and knee problems. And it's not just the kicking, but it's the whole practice style, passive stretching, not having a well-rounded strength program, not understanding from back in the day, not really understanding what a well-rounded strength conditioning program should look like. So, wherever you read, wherever you hear on the internet, deadlift comes up as this exercise you should not deadlift. Athletes shouldn't deadlift. As a lift, is it necessary? No. It's one of my personal favorite lifts. I like people to deadlift, but do I make everybody deadlift? Nope. Not even close. I make everybody I train with do some version of a squat and some version of a hip hinge. But that doesn't mean we put a bar on the back for squats, and that doesn't mean we put a bar in front of them on the ground for deadlifts. We can use trap bars, we can use kettlebells, we can forget the deadlift entirely and do swings, high pulls, power cleans. We can do box jumps, broad jumps. There's a whole load of stuff we can do to get the hinge pattern working. My own case, I did damage my back deadlifting several years ago. Why? Because I was all out of whack. My hamstrings were piss weak, which, considering the amount of training I was doing, might come as a surprise. But I ran and I cycled a lot. I did martial arts a lot. I could squat for hundreds of reps, but not heavy. And I never really trained a full hip hinge. When I started to try and rectify that as an idiot, as a younger man, which is the same as saying an idiot, I was deadlifting and I damaged my back. Fair enough. What brought me back? Kettlebell swings. That got me back deadlifting. And I've noticed periods where I don't deadlift and I go into either a heavy swing program or double kettlebell clean and jerk, and then I go back to deadlifting. The deadlift is still there. The pattern still exists. So once you're strong, all round, generally strong, then the exercises that you select are not that important. It's not an exercise that gets you strong. Do you know what I mean? Exercises stimulate the body. It's the movement patterns. When we focus on movement patterns, so the basic Dan John push, pull, hinge, squat works a treat. How many upper body pushes can you think of in the horizontal and in the vertical plane? So bench press, push-ups, military press, seesaw press, keep the list going. How many vertical pulls? There's not so many of them. Pull downs, pull ups, chin ups, hanging scaps. How many horizontal pulls? Your bent over rows, your renegade rows, your How many hinges? Good mornings, Romanian deadlift, single leg deadlift, regular deadlift, sumo deadlifts, trap bar deadlift. How many squats? Front, back, overhead, single leg, lunges, step up, step down. Right? There's no one exercise. When you think in patterns, it frees you from the limitations of just thinking of an exercise. Now, for maximal strength, not a lot beats the barbell. It really doesn't. We could sort of say that that's more lower body specific. Upper body, there are other ways. But again, you can micro load a barbell unlike anything else. Kettlebells come in fairly big jumps. Sandbags, we never really know how much they weigh. Stones, fair enough. Dumbbells, limited by what you can hold. Kettlebells to a degree as well. Bodyweight drills, yeah, for upper body maximal strength, yep. You can certainly build phenomenal upper body strength with just a set of rings. Most people aren't going to put that work in, to be honest. So where are we? Let's get back to the point here. Yeah, that's basically it. So the point is, if training is breaking you down, it is not training. Progressive resistance training, strength and conditioning, physical preparation, general physical preparation, specific physical preparation, training should make you better. You train to develop attributes that make you better at life, better at your sport, better existing. If training is breaking you down so your quality of life is lower, or you're not able to perform adequately in your outside life or sport, and sport is part of your life, then you're doing your training wrong. If you're in the gym constantly getting hurt, every time I bench press, it takes me a few days for my shoulder to work. So what fucking use is that if you have to go out and use that shoulder at work, or you're playing a racket sport, or you're grappling where you need your shoulder to be right? Why not ditch the bench press and do something that doesn't hurt your shoulder? If you deadlift and you keep hurting your back, why not do something different while you fix your back? And when your back is fixed, you can go back to deadlifting. Because if you deadlift and you hurt your back, that means you're going to struggle with your running, you're going to struggle with your sport, you're going to be uncomfortable sat at your desk at work. Why would you fucking bother? It's simple. Where we go wrong in the weight room is egos. Egos get involved. We read all this stuff online, strength standard, you've got to get a double bodyweight deadlift, you've got to do this, you've got to do that. For an intermediate level to lift this, and advanced levels lift this, and strong people lift it. And none of that really matters. I have had this argument with a client recently because he's playing rugby and he started looking up all these rugby standards. He's an amateur rugby player who plays for an amateur team. He doesn't need to be worried about what professional players are doing, or even Division 1 players. He's not going to be lifting what the likes of, say, Joe Marler is lifting. He's not a professional, and he's not bloody built like Joe Marler. None of us are. But what matters is, has your squat, has your deadlift, has your press, have your key lifts improved over time? That's what matters. So if 4 weeks from now, generic numbers, let's just say 100 kilo. Let's just say a deadlift for 100 kilo. If you deadlift 100 kilo for 5 reps and it feels hard, 4 weeks from now you deadlift 100 kilo for 5 reps and it feels easy, well, you've gotten stronger. Simple as that. If you deadlift 100 kilos for 5 reps and you can't do a 6th, but then 4 weeks from now you do 8 reps with it, you've gotten stronger. It's that simple. Like, it really is that simple. Rather than chasing numbers, chase progression. If you're training in the gym, in the weight room, to get better at your sport, your progression in the weight room is only an indicator of what you're doing in the weight room. It doesn't necessarily transfer onto the field. What matters is, have you got stronger in the gym? Now can you make it stand to you on the field, in the ring? And in the early days of the strength program, absolutely, you will be on fire every time you hit the sports ground, the sports arena. But down the line, it makes less and less of a difference. So do we worry about getting stronger and stronger and stronger? Not necessarily. We start thinking about movement quality. That's got nothing to do with the weight on the bar. It's how fast is the weight moving. It's how are you moving it. It's not the weight on the bar itself. If you're deadlifting like a power lifter, that's not necessarily going to help you sprint better. It might, not necessarily. But if we look at the deadlift as a hip hinge training the hamstrings, the posterior chain to extend those hips explosively quickly, well, then there's a point where it becomes too heavy and we can't move it that fast. It's all to do with wants and needs, but to say that if you deadlift, you're going to end up in the clinic getting your hips replaced, sorry, mate, no. No. If you over specialize in something and it breaks your body down, then yeah, I'll go with that. But it doesn't mean you have to stop deadlifting or any lift. But just bear in mind, if you specialize to the point where you're creating training scars, those scars will hurt you. They will hurt you. They will come out in the long grass somewhere down the line. Which is why all athletes wave the training. They go from general training into specific training, into peaking to compete, and they come back to general. And that general is a wide variety of stuff. It's the base of the pyramid. The wider the base, the higher the peak. Yeah? Simple as that. Do a wide variety of stuff. And then as you get closer to the event, so your pre-season gets a bit more specific. Yeah? As the event comes closer, it gets very specific. You peak. But then you go back afterwards and you go back to your general training and you just cycle. You're not specializing. The sport might be specialized enough. If you don't play a sport, there's no need to specialize. That's one of my two most popular programs, my bootcamp program that I've ran in the mornings in Wildgates for years, and my lunchtime sessions that I ran there for years. They're very different to each other, but they're both non-specialist, very general training. The lunchtimes are very short, sweet kettlebell focused workouts that can be done 1 to 4 days a week. They're built around non-routine for the guys that don't have routine, but the guys that get in with frequency, they improve massively over time. Yeah, the improvements might be slow because they're infrequent, because there's stuff going on. They fit these short, sharp workouts in around their life. That's the point of them. The bootcamp is a much more structured program because you're meant to get in 3 to 4 days a week for the 12-week block and then repeat it and repeat it and repeat it. And those guys are, turn into bloody animals. They're my two most popular general programs and have been for years. They're non-specific. I have a list of specialized programs. They're not popular because they only suit a handful of people at a time. Kettlebell snatch program, specialist program that helps people get up to competitive level. I've got programs for jiu-jitsu players and Kyokushin karate guys and other people that are quite specific. I don't recommend those to many people, but the bootcamp, the lunchtime, recommend them to bloody everybody because they're general and you're not going to end up messed up because you're not specializing. Anyway, I'm starting to rant a little bit. I could really get on one with this because this annoys me. Who was it that says specialization is for insects? Oh, forget now. But it might come to me. But anyway, you know the drill, guys. Like, comment, subscribe. Send me questions. In the comments, you can ask a question freely, and then that question will be featured maybe on a newsletter and in one of these videos down the line. If you like and you subscribe, that helps out this channel get a bit more traction. More people see it. But yeah, drop us a line, guys. DaveHedges.net, the comment section below. What do you have to say about this subject? Love to hear your thoughts. Alrighty, till next time. Talk to you soon.